Hey there, how's it going? davidinark here. Today, while I was poking around the office, I found an old computer and I wanted to see what it was. So, curiosity got the best of me. We're going to crack this bad boy open. Come along for the ride. First thing we're going to do is take a look at the back, and the first thing that stands out is the AT keyboard. That's the big round circle at the top there above the TMS. Check out the old school power supply. We also have COM ports, joystick port, parallel port, a network card, and also VGA. So let's see what happens when we come around to the front. So the computer is called Premio, but I believe that's just a local brand that was done. We got the reset turbo, various LEDs. It's got a couple of drive bays. What is interesting is this 3.5-inch bay has a cover that's not a drive. Had not seen that before. That was a little weird. So anyway, there you go. All right, so this is an old school case, so I had to take 4 screws off the back and the entire shell comes off the case. Now down here, as I'm facing it in the lower right corner, we have the CPU and a bunch of jumpers. We've got a couple of ISA expansion slots. As we come up through here, we've got some VLB expansion slots and then some more ISA slots. On top of that, we have one of these horrid, well, I think these are called Dallas batteries. No, the Dallas ones were square. Anyway, whatever the barrel battery is, that's probably leaking everywhere. We've got a bank of 4 memory slots there. Only one of them is full. And here you see a shot of the complete motherboard with the boards taken out so that you can get a better feel of what I was describing. Now let's take a look at the individual components themselves. All right, so the first card we have is the VGA card, and it is Visa Local Bus. That's VLB. You can tell by down in the lower left corner, that little what looks like a backwards PCI is what VLB was back in the day. This is a Cirrus Logic GD5428, one of the most common chipsets used during this time. I've dated this computer to around 1995. According to the FCC ID that I was able to look up, this is from a company called High Technology Systems Incorporated, something along those lines. It's, just a random Taiwanese company that made stuff. You can see kind of in the middle, just above my thumb, there are 2 memory chips that are soldered onto the system. That's 1 meg of RAM. And then you could purchase additional RAM if you wanted, put those into the sockets that you see there, and that would make this a 2 meg memory system. All right, up next we have the Intel Ether Express 16 LAN adapter. And this particular model actually comes in a whole slew of different flavors. This particular version, first of all, it is a 16-bit ISA card. And you can see in the lower left, or in the lower right corner, sorry, it's a little off camera there. But it has what is called a BNC connection at the bottom. That's your coax connection. And then there is above that what appears to be a joystick adapter. That was actually a D-sub 15, and that was used for a networking system that was called thick Ethernet versus like what you see now, which is like, well, technically the BNC wire was considered thin net, but anyway, it's very old is what it is. So that is the Intel network card in the system. And next, that brings us to the IO card. This is the DTC2278D. Back in the day on these types of computers, you did not have built-in drive access. You had to have a separate card that did that for you. And this one, as we saw with the video card, is also a Visa Local Bus. That is the VLB, which is the little reverse PCI connection looking thing underneath, where my thumb and fingers are, where my thumb is particularly. And then, of course, we got the 16-bit ISA portion of the card over to the right-hand side. So the way this works is you've got, starting from the left, you've got your hard drive, your IDE hard drive connection. There are 2. One of them is occupied at the top. The bottom one is empty. Then next to that, to the right, is the floppy drive connector. You've got jumpers, which will configure, most likely that's for the I/O, which is next. And And then the next 3 ribbon cables that you see are your input output. And so that is things like your parallel port for printers. That is there's a game port on there. And you also have a 9-pin serial port and a 25-pin serial port for expansion. And so that is how your computer talked to your different components inside the system. So your hard drives, floppy drives, your serial mice, modems, that kind of stuff. Well, I should say external modems, and other devices that connect to that I/O board. And speaking of I/O, we have in storage and hard drives and all that good stuff. Here we have a Maxtor 7420 AV. It's a 420 megabyte hard drive. This is megabyte, right? We're not into gigabytes at this point. This is 1995. We're talking, this computer most likely has a 486 in it. I'm guessing. We'll find out here in just a minute. So yeah, 420 meg hard drive. And again, that is raw data. So formatted data, it's probably going to be around 400 megs, somewhere in there. So we'll find that out when we get this bad boy booted up. Now, one of the first things you're going to notice around the back as we look at this again, there is no sound card. So this particular unit did not have sound in it at all. And also, notice when we look at the front, there is no CD drive. So this computer, for all intents and purposes, was not set up for any kind of multimedia. So that may be something that if I play around with this in the future that we get into. All right, and so without any further ado, here is us powering on the computer. And you'll have to forgive that angle. That was the only way I could record turning it on where it was. When it boots up here, you see that because this has not been turned on in forever, we've got to hit F1 to resume and get into the setup. I had to go find a VGA monitor. So once again, I went poking around and this is what I came up with. So forgive the absolute horrendous picture that you see there. That is the actual monitor being goofy. Now, because this computer's battery has long died, or at least certainly not charged, we have to go in here and manually put in the time and date. And I was also very curious if this would let me put in 2022, and it does. So we're all safe. This particular system is Y2K compliant. Whew, I was a little worried there for a minute. You just never know about these old computers. All right, anyway, so I came in here and set the approximate time. I'll be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing this, but then check to make sure that the floppy drive did in fact show that it was a 144. There is no floppy drive. You'll see here are settings for master disks, but one of the things about this BIOS is that I can tab over to the utility section and I can actually have it detect the master, and we see here that it is showing up as a 400 meg hard drive. As I said before, the code says 420. By the time you get through various aspects of how hard drives works, then this one is showing up as a 400 meg. You see here the system itself has 8 megs of RAM, and it is a 486 DX266 with 256K cache. So it fires up to DOS and then boots into Windows 3.1. So we are going way old school. So not only is this computer from 1995, it predates Windows 95. Must have been right on the cusp there. I'm guessing it's actually trying to load Lantastic, which, wow, I haven't seen or heard that in a while. And the person this was registered to obviously decided to install some custom cursor action there. So we've got mice and cheese and what have you. So there you go. All right, so there you go. A quick look into an old computer that I found laying around the office at my work location. So very cool stuff, a lot of fun. A couple of things that I think I may try. I'm going to see maybe if we can find some more memory. What I'd really like to do is find an IDE hard drive and an ISA sound card and maybe get some multimedia action going in this computer. So there it is. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. Hope you enjoyed this kind of first look at this old computer from 1995. I say old, dude. I grew up pre-Commodore 64. Anyway, there you go. I'm davidinark. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.